Hiya, welcome to Darren in the studio. Thanks again for swinging by for another video. Before we go any further, if you like what you see in this video, do let me know about it in the comments below. Let me know where you're watching and all that sort of stuff. I love finding out where you're all watching from. And also, do give the video a thumbs up, and please think about subscribing for more videos and stuff like that. I know a lot of YouTube channels tell you to subscribe and all that kind of stuff, and they have millions and millions of viewers. This one doesn't, and we'd really like to sort of get more viewers and more sort of participation. That'd be great. Anyway, it's up to you. This video, if you've seen the title, you'll know what this video is all about. We didn't do 1965. We didn't look at 60 years ago because basically I just didn't have enough albums in my collection from 1965 for 60 years. And you know me, if you're a regular to this channel, you'll know that I like to sort of choose 10 albums, keep it at a nice round number. 1975 was a video that we did a few weeks ago, where we looked at albums that are 50 years old. So if you haven't seen that video, do have a look after you've checked out this one. So this is 1985. We're going back 40 years, looking at 10 albums in my record collection that are 40 years old. Now, of course, these are my selections. You'll have your own favourite albums from 1985. And I've chosen these albums for a couple of reasons. One, because they're from 1985. And also, they sort of bring back really great memories. I remember where I bought them, because a lot of these albums are actually as old as they should be, if you know what I mean. There's only a couple of three in here which I've sort of bought that weren't 1985. 10 albums, all celebrating 40 years in 2025. So let's have a look at them. I'll tell you, before we go any further, when I was getting these out of the collection, because some of these albums are, like I say, 40 years old physically, I really enjoyed looking at the sleeves, getting the records out and looking at the labels and just checking out their general condition. And in some cases, realizing what 40 years has actually done to them as records, because everything started to deteriorate a little bit. And some of these covers have sort of started to get a little bit of, not mold, but sort of minor signs of damp. When you live in a very old sort of damp, dusty cottage, there's not a lot really you can sort of do about it. But let's get on with it. They're all in alphabetical order. And we're going to start with Marc Bolan. Now, the album that came out in 1985 with Marc Bolan featured was this one. This is an album called Till Dawn. And this is basically a collection of re-recorded tracks using Marc's original vocal and original guitar. What they did is, John and Shan Bramley, they put together this album. They took Marc's tapes back into the studio and put a whole new band on top using Marc's vocal and guitar. One of the musicians on here is Bill Legend, Marc's original drummer, because Bill hadn't been on some of these songs. Of course, he'd left T-Rex in sort of like the mid-70s, and some of these songs he really wanted to be on, so we got a chance to perform on some of them. Of course, there's some big records on here: New York City, Born to Boogie, Metal Guru, Children of the Revolution, Think Zinc, Venus Loon. Some great records on here. Like I say, Marc's original vocal, Marc's original guitar, with a whole new band on top. And some of these songs are given a real, even more of a rocky feel than they originally were. Disc 1 is those re-recorded remixes. Disc 2 is a nice little session that Marc did in America. It's a USA radio session from 1972, an acoustic set, just Marc and his guitar. And Nice to hear Mark in between as well, sort of talking about the songs. I'm guessing that this session might have been sort of like the Electric Warrior tour, possibly. And there's the address for the Mark Bolan fan club. Of course, this is well before the internet and all that kind of stuff. This is on the Mark on Wax label, which is a label which was founded in the early 80s to put out Mark's music. And the first time they remixed anything by Mark, as far as I'm aware, was back in 1983 when they did Think Zinc and put it out as a single. And that sort of gave them the inspiration to put this out. Till Dawn, nice little double album. Mark Bolan, nice shots of Mark inside. Celebrating its 40th birthday. Till Dawn. Next, an album that I've only had for a few years. Probably had this, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. But I used to have this on cassette and I absolutely loved it. My mate at school used to have it and he made me a cassette recording of it. This is The Damned and their 1985 album Phantasmagoria. Of course, I only own one Damned album and this is it. I'm not a massive fan of The Damned. I do like the music, but this is the only album that I've got. I might have to check out some more. Phantasmagoria celebrating its 40th birthday in 2025. A few big records on here. Street of Dreams, Shadow of Love, Grimly Fiendish, of course. This is out on the MCA label. Got a nice inner sleeve on this, featuring the band. A nice little bespoke labels on the MCA label with The Damned on it. This is a nice little original pressing as well from 1985. And I picked this up at a record shop, like I said, about 6 years ago, and I think I paid about £3 for it, something like that. Really nice. Next, the only CD that I have in these 10 albums. And this was a significant CD release. This is one of those first CDs, and this was a massive seller on compact disc. This was the album that everybody discovered compact disc with, really. This is Brothers in Arms, of course, Dire Straits. And I've got a feeling that this is a nice little original CD press as well, because it doesn't have the barcode on the CD itself for information. It's one of the sort of blank ones, which sort of suggests that it's a sort of 80s, made in the USA on the Vertigo label. Be interested to see what a newer version of Brothers in Arms looks like. Like I said, a lot of people discovered CD through Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms. This was one of those albums which I always thought people bought it because everybody else was buying it, if you know what I mean. Although, it has to be said, Brothers in Arms is an incredible record. Some massive hits on here. So Far Away, Money for Nothing, Walk of Life, Brothers in Arms itself, which is an incredible song. And of course, Mark Knopfler, still around, still making good music, put out an album last year. Brothers in Arms, 40 years old in 2025. Next up, of course, Kiss had an album in 1985, and I bought it as a new release, and here it is, Asylum. Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Eric Carr, and Bruce Kulick. I always thought the back of this album would have been a better cover. You know, and back in the day I put some we were talking earlier about records deteriorating. I put some sellotape on here probably a couple of years after I bought it, and now the sellotape started to deteriorate as well. I could probably pull that off and it wouldn't sort of damage it. It would probably just break off. This is an original pressing on the Vertigo label. Like I say, I bought this as a brand new release. Show you the record. Been many, many years since I played this album because, of course, a few years after this was put out. They started making them on CD and reissued them. Great album, this. I always loved this album. King of the Mountain, Any Way You Slice, it's a great song. Who Wants to Be Lonely? Trial by Fire, I'm Alive. Love's a Deadly Weapon. Tears Are Falling, one of Kiss's biggest hits. Secretly Cruel, Radar for Love. And All Night. I understand that Tears Are Falling, the video, is the one that features Samantha Fox, because Paul Stanley was dating Samantha Fox at the time. 40 Years Old, Kiss, Asylum. Next up, this is a great album, and I was introduced to this band from their second album, which was called Shelter, which I think came out a couple of years after their debut. This is Lone Justice, and this is just called Lone Justice, their first album. Of course, this is Maria McKee, who had massive hit many years later with Show Me Heaven as a solo singer. Not sure whether Lone Justice still perform or not. This is a great album. 1985, celebrating its 40th birthday this year. I really like these inners as well, where they're advertising other albums. I always look at these and think, oh, how many of these albums have I got? This is on the CBS, I think. No, I'm wrong. Geffen label, which makes me wonder why that's got that inner sleeve, because that's a CBS inner sleeve, isn't it? So that's obviously this is the first time I've realised this. This is the wrong inner for this album, because stuff on Geffen Records, I'm sure, wasn't issued through Nice Price. So yeah, it's the right album though. On the Geffen label, 1985, Lone Justice, 40 Years Old. Next up, my favourite album of all time. And I'm not sure whether I've actually told anybody this on this channel. This might be a first. This album, 40 Years Old, came out in 1985. This is, like I say, this is my favourite album of all time. This is a band called the Long Riders. This is State of Our Union. I absolutely adore this album. I really do. Not a bad track on it. This came out on the Island label, 1985. For me, this is the Long Riders' finest work. Sadly, we lost Tom Stevens a few years ago now, but the band still record, and their albums are just as good as they always were. But this was the one for me that got me into the band, and also showed me that you didn't have to listen to the top 40. You know, I discovered this in 1985, and it changed my attitude to music. I realised there was a lot of good music being put out that was never going to trouble the top 40, whether it be in singles or in albums. This is a great album, Long Riders, State of Our Union from 1985, my favourite album of all time. Check it out if you haven't heard it. Next, bit of controversy with this album. This album came out in 1985, but some of the songs were issued in 1984. So it says 1984, 1985 on the sleeve, but I'm positive that Madonna's Like a Virgin came out in 1985. It does say 1985 on it, but it also says 1984. So it's like, you know, they're not going to go forward in time, are they? If this is 1984, I'll be absolutely gobsmacked, because it definitely says there at the bottom 1985, but it does also say 1984 on it. Big hits on here, of course, Like a Virgin itself, Material Girl, what's else on it? Into the Groove. Really great. I love this album. I mean, you probably think I'm just a rocker at heart, but I'm not. I love all kinds of music. And there's nothing wrong with this album. My favourite Madonna album actually is the True Blue album, which is a superb album. This is a nice little original German press. It says on here import. I used to write these on when I was a kid, but it's not actually an import. This was pressed in Germany for the European market. Nice little original pressing, original inner. And oddly enough, I thought these might be worth a bit of money, but they're not. On the Sire label. Yeah, I thought sort of like, you think like an original press of Madonna's albums might be worth some wonga, but they're not. Madonna, Like a Virgin, celebrating its 40th birthday. Now, here's an album which absolutely bombed when it first came out. This is on the CBS label, and this is Freddie Mercury's first solo album. I say first solo album because he only ever put out one album solo within his lifetime. 1985 CBS label. This is Mr. Bad Guy. This again is a nice little original 1985 press. Nice shot of Freddie on the inside sleeve as well. You get the lyrics, and there's Freddie there on the CBS label. Like I said, this is an original. Great shot of Freddie, that one. I often wonder whether these photographs were taken in his home in London there. Possibly. Maybe someone knows. Celebrating its 40th birthday. Some of the tracks on here were actually used much later on for Queen. Made in Heaven is on this album. I Was Born to Love You was a single which was re-released, sort of remixed. Mr. Bad Guy was remixed and put out. Living on My Own as well. Good stuff. Freddie Mercury, Mr. Bad Guy. Like I said, at the time, this album absolutely bombed. Nobody bought it. But I bought it. I probably bought this in, 87? Something like that. A couple of years after it came out. Next up, Twisted Sister and the Come Out and Play album. This is on the Atlantic label. This is significant for a few reasons. Number one, it's a really great album. Number two, this was the album that reintroduced Alice Cooper, because Alice Cooper's on here on Be Cruel to Your School. He does a duet with Dee Snider on here, and this has got great artwork. This is one of the die cut ones where Dee comes out the manhole. Must do a video on these kind of album covers. Twisted Sister, Come Out and Play. Nice pics of the band. Lyrics. Label. Nothing major about the labels. Yeah, this Alice Cooper had been sort of in the music wilderness for some time. After his album Dada, he'd sort of like been recovering from drug addiction and so on. And Twisted Sister had him on this album. And this, like I say, this was the album that brought Alice Cooper back. The video for Twisted Sister's Be Cruel to Your School featuring Alice Cooper was banned on MTV. And it sort of gave Alice Cooper the shot in the arm, to pardon the pun, that he needed to come back as the strong Alice Cooper all over again. Twisted Sister, Come Out and Play from 1985, 40 years old. Hard to believe that this actual album cover is 40 years old. How amazing. Last, but certainly not least, ZZ Top. Of course, they'd had a massive hit album with Eliminator and stuff like that, and they carried on with that theme in 1985. This was the follow-up to the Eliminator album. This is Afterburner, celebrating 40 years this year. Got some big records on here. Sleeping Bag was a hit for him. Rough Boy, of course. I love Velcro Fly on this album. Beautiful artwork throughout. But ZZ Top's albums always have nice artwork. This is a nice little original. This is on the Warner's label. Inside you get a little sheet with the other ZZ Top albums with the logo on the back there. Just in plain black on the inside with a nice little bespoke label there. ZZ Top's Afterburner. Of course, not that long ago, is it, since we lost Dusty Hill? But nice to see that ZZ Top are still together and performing these days. ZZ Top's Afterburner from 1985, celebrating its 40th birthday in 2025. That's it. That's my 10 albums from 1985. Every single one of them a gem. Every single one of them celebrating in 2025. Like I said earlier on, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Do like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Let me know where you're watching. I love finding out where people are watching. We get people from all over the world, which is really, really great. Love it. And do swing by for another video. Well, until that time, look after yourselves, look after each other, and we'll see you again in the studio for another video. Ta-da.